Hello everybody, this is Aaron, and we are going to talk about the new Tyranid book for Warhammer 40k. This book just came out a couple days ago. It's Tuesday the 14th, and the book came out on the 11th, on Saturday. So, we're going to talk about it. There's been a lot of hate on this book. A lot of hate. Even for a new codex, there's been a lot of hate on this book. We're going to go through it, talk about what we think, and go from there. Now, this will probably be multiple videos. I'll try to keep them down, but alright. So, just a little background before we get started. Who am I when it comes to 40k? I have played Tyranids since the 3rd edition codex, and I've played the 4th, I played the 5th, and now I'm playing this one. Well, I'm going to try, but that's my Tyranid history. I love Tyranids. That's the one army that I've never gotten tired of. I love the lore, I love the models, so that's where I come from with Tyranids. Now, as far as something else I need to throw out there before I get into this, I'm a competitive player, but I'm not like going to oh god, I can't think of any, Feast of Blades, Adepticon. I'm not going to any of these big tournaments and playing, so luckily, I'm not going up against Wave Serpent spam real often, or Taudar, or Screamer Star. I mean, there's Demon players, and Tau players, and Eldar players. We pretty much, the people I play with, we usually have pretty much every army to play against, but I don't have any of those power builds that I'm suffering against. And we don't have a Space Wolf player, thankfully, because Space Wolves will destroy this book. If they didn't already destroy Tyranids, it may have gotten worse. But let's get into this. Aside from our flyers, Space Wolf still can't touch our flyers. So, what I'd like to do first is just go over kind of the book itself. From an actual physical book standpoint, you know, same price as a normal codex, full color, really beautiful cover. I think this is my favorite 6th edition cover yet for the hardcovers. The Tyranid art in full color looks great. The only sad part I have in here about the fluff, and it's actually kind of a big one, a lot of this stuff is just directly pasted or only slightly altered from the 5th edition book. So not a whole lot of new lore, which, you know, I was kind of sad by, because if I'm not mistaken, all the new books have a lot more detailed background. This book doesn't. So get that out of the way. I'll let you read the fluff to yourself if you want. You know, whatever, there it is. So, special rules for the army. We didn't get anything new. We still have Instinctive Behavior, Shadows in the Warp, and Synapse Creature, right? Synapse does the exact same thing it has in the past. It's 12-inch bubble from the Synapse Creature. Everyone ignores Instinctive Behavior in that range, and has Fearless, and if they were falling back into the bubble, they automatically rally, or they automatically regroup. So, same thing it always has been. Shadow in the Warp is now different. In the last book, it was 3d6 psychic tests within 12 inches of the creatures that have Shadows in the Warp, and 6 double 6s and double 1s were perils. Now, all enemy units and models with Psyker, Psychic Pilot, and Brotherhood of Psykers within the range, still 12 inches, takes a -3 penalty to their leadership. Okay. Now that is not a -3 to psychic tests by itself. It is a -3 to leadership. So that is nice, especially against Grey Knights. You know, unfortunately not as many people are playing Grey Knights now, but a -3 to pretty much all the Grey Knights leadership is pretty nice, because you're going to need Synapse Creatures, so you're going to have Shadow of the Warp everywhere. And the reason you're going to need Synapse is because of the new Instinctive Behavior. Okay. Now, in previous books, things have had certain kinds of instinctive behavior. Last edition, they had Lurk, and they had Feed. Now we have Lurk, Feed, and Hunt. How you suffer instinctive behavior, same as it used to be. If at the start of each of your turns, any creature from the book that is not in Synapse range has to make a leadership save. If they fail it, you see which instinctive behavior they have, and you roll a d6 on this chart. Every chart has a 1 to 3 result, a 4 and 5 result, and a 6 result, okay? Lurks, 1 to 3 is that you fall back. The 4 to 5 on it is seek cover, and what it is it's like the old lurk where you had to move towards the nearest terrain, and you don't have to now, but in the movement phase the unit is not slowed by difficult, makes dangerous like normal, but in the shooting phase the unit can run and can only shoot if it's in area terrain or in a building, and then it can't charge. So it's similar. You don't have to move towards the nearest terrain, but you don't get to do what you want, really. I mean, you need to move to terrain so you can shoot, and you should be in terrain already because your shooting bugs want cover. But, you know, there it is. There is seek cover. Now, if you manage to get a 6 on it, it's the same thing as seek cover, but you get stealth. Still bad because you don't get to directly do what you want to do with your unit. Okay, feed. God, what were they thinking with feed, okay? 1 to 3 is, now this is what Hormagaunts have and Carnifexes and things like that. 1 to 3 is that the unit immediately suffers a number of hits equal to the number of models in the unit. So if you have a group of 20 Hormagaunts and the hits are all AP nothing and strength of the unit's majority strength. So our example of 20 Hormagaunts is going to take 20 strength 3 AP nothing hits, okay? Now that sucks. That's gonna give you 10 wounds and you're gonna fail 8 at least. So you're talking 40% of your unit just dead, and then you have to. It says after removing casualties, the unit can do nothing else until the end of the turn. Now, that should make you make a leadership test, but the way it's worded, it says you do nothing else. So you could maybe get away with saying that. Well, the way it's ruled, they can't run because they can't do anything else. But no, I'm thinking you have to make a leadership save again, and then if you fail it, you have to flee. So that sucks. All right, but if it's a single model like one Trigon or one Carnifex, or the Harspec, which I think also has feed, then you go to the 4 to 5 result, which is Devour, which is the old Rage from 5th edition. You have to charge the nearest unit, or you have to declare a charge in your assault phase. If you can't, you don't do anything. And if you get a 6, you get Rage along with having to charge. But man, that 1 to 3, God, it's going to hurt, and it's going to come up. So now the new one, Hunt. The 1 to 3, you go to ground. Okay, if you're fearless, you ignore it and go ahead and you get the 4 to 5 result instead. The 4 to 5 result is that in the shooting phase you can't run and you have to shoot the nearest enemy unit, if nothing that you have line of sight with. If you can't, if there's no viable targets, you do nothing and you can't charge. The 6 result is the same, but you get preferred enemy. So all in all, instinctive behavior is so much worse now. I mean, it's bad. So you're going to need Synapse, so load up. Unfortunately, it ain't cheap. So, okay. The other special rules we have are the Warlord traits. Now, if you get online, there's a bunch of people complaining about Warlord traits. And to be honest, the majority of the Warlord traits suck in every book. I mean, Demons have the one where you get to re-roll the Warp Storm table, and that's good. You know, every book has a couple that are good, and this one's no exception. It's got some good ones, but most of the time, most of the people we play with end up forgetting Warlord traits anyway, because if you're stuck on the book traits, you're going to get something you're not going to use. So let's go through these. One is Nature's Bane, which is getting a lot of hate online. At the beginning of movement phases, you pick a forest, jungle, or wood terrain within 12 inches of your Warlord, and it becomes a carnivorous jungle. Okay, cool. Carnivorous jungle. Whatever. A lot of people are complaining because apparently there are people that never see forests. You know, they play with just ruins, or they play cityscape maps, or whatever, but there's no forests, or jungles, or whatever. So this is a big one that could be largely never used. So, but that's one. That's Nature's Bane. Heightened Senses is number 2. The Warlord and everybody, all your Tyranids within 12 inches get night vision. Not awful, but not bad. I mean, you know, it could happen. It could be useful. 3 is Synaptic Lynchpin, which gives the Warlord synapse range of 18 instead of 12. That one's not bad. The Swarmlord comes with that now, which sucks because in the old book, the Swarmlord just had an 18-inch synapse. So, but if you don't take the Swarmlord, which you probably won't, and you get Synaptic Lynchpin, it's not a bad Warlord trait. Okay, 4 Mind Eater. Now this is the one that Games Workshop throws into basically every codex now, except for, I think, Tau. I don't think Tau had one like this. Eldar might not have either, but it's a challenge one. If your Warlord slays an independent character, each independent character that the Warlord slays in a challenge grants you 2 additional victory points. It's not going to come up a lot, but it could come up. Okay. 5 is Digestive Denial. It's another terrain-based one, but this one was after deployment. You nominate, it's before Scout and Infiltrates, but you nominate a piece of terrain in the enemy deployment zone. And it cannot be one that your opponent purchased as part of their army, so no fortifications. And it lowers the cover save of that piece of terrain by 1 for the duration of the game. I have seen a lot of people online saying, "Oh, well, you can use that on your enemy's Aegis defense line." No, you can't. It specifically says that you can't. So that sucks. That piece of terrain's okay. Or that piece of terrain, that Warlord trait's okay, but it's not gonna. It's not gonna come up that much. Okay, so, and 6 is the one I actually like. It's Adaptive Biology. It gives you Feel No Pain 5+ for the rest of the game after you take your first wound. And it starts the next movement phase. So if you get charged, say you've got a Walking Hive Tyrant, and you get charged and you take a wound. At the beginning of the next movement phase, your next movement phase, you get a Feel No Pain 5+. It's not bad. It's a Warlord trait, so it's free. So if you get it, cool. It's also outside of, well, no, it's the only source of Feel No Pain short of a psychic power in this book. So there are our special rules for the army, okay? So, we're going to head to the Biomorphs now, and what we're going to do with Biomorphs is we're going to talk about the ones that you can purchase, the war gear. Tyranids have a war gear list now, just like all the other books in 6th edition. So we're just going to go down this, and what we're going to do is, so we won't hit some of them, but we're going to go through these, and then when we get to the unit entries that have specific things like the Tyrannofex and things like that, we'll go back and see what those do. Okay, so we'll start with what's called Basic Biomorphs. Now, these are Scything Talons, Spine Fists, and Death Spitters. Okay? Now, one that's not on here is the Standard Devourer, because the only units that can buy it are I believe are Termagants, and their points are in their own thing, and then warriors have them, but it's what they start with, so that's why they're not on the war list, the war gear list table, because no one else can get them, and I guess they didn't want anyone else to be able to get them. But anyway, Basic Biomorphs. Scything Talons are free, which they should be, because they don't do anything. They no longer give you rerolls. They're Strength User, AP 6. So you get an AP 6 melee weapon. So now all the monsters with it are AP 2, but basically now they're just there to count as a melee weapon, and they're AP 6 on Hormagaunts and gargoyles, warriors, shrikes, raveners, things like that. They're just a melee weapon that's AP 6 now. So they suck. The losing the rerolls hurts on a lot, but now in this book, we finally get an additional attack if we have 2 pairs of melee weapons. So if you have 2 pairs of Scything Talons, you get an extra attack. But, now this is a big one. Things that could get 2 pairs of Scything Talons, like Carnifexes, Trigons, Trigon Primes, you know, they lost an attack base on their profile. So they lose an attack, and then you get it back because you have 2 pairs of melee weapons. So all they did was get rid of the rerolls. I don't know why they did that. Was the reroll 1 so bad? I mean, on Hormagaunts, it may have been a little over, because if you can get them in, that's a boatload of attacks. But even then, your 4's rerolling, and only rerolling 1s. So that's big nerf number 1, aside from Instinctive. So I guess it's nerf number 2. Anyway, okay, Spine Fists are also free. Same thing they did before. 12-inch range, Strength 3, AP 5, Twin Linked, and their Assault X, and the X is equal to the number of attacks that the unit that has it has. So Termagants get 1 attack, Tyranid Warriors get 3 attacks. You know, I'm not going to take Spine Fists over a Devourer. You lose a point of strength and become Twin Linked, and you lose 6 inches on range. No, plus, I'd rather have the flesh borer, I guess, on the to get the extra strength on Gaunts or Gants. Sorry, not Gaunts, or the Devourers. And on Warriors, I think I'd rather have the Death Spitter if I'm going shooty anyway. And that's the next one on the list. The Death Spitter is an 18-inch range, Strength 5, AP 5, and it's Assault 3. So it's just a point higher strength as the Devourer and the same range. It's 5 points a model that can get them. So, and just like the old book, or just like all the other 6th edition books, the units will tell you what they can take. So if they can take those 3, the basic Biomorphs, the unit entry will tell you. Okay? So those are those 3. Nothing to write home about. Siphon Talon Nerf hurt a lot, especially on things like Carnifexes and Trigons, because losing those rerolls on all your rerolls, that sucks. I mean, and it largely does nothing now. So, okay. So basic bio cannons. Now these are just the Barb Strangler and the Venom Cannon, the normal Venom Cannon, which are both 10 points a model. And let's get back here and see exactly what they are. They are both 36-inch range. The Venom Cannon is Strength 4, AP 4, Assault 1, Blast. And the Barb Strangler is Strength 4, AP 5, Assault 1, Large Blast with Pinning. So, 2 strength difference. The AP slightly worse on the Barb Strangler, but it's Large Blast and Pinning. So, they're only 10 points, and if you're going to field Warriors, which, as much as I don't think they fit in a real competitive aspect, you might need them just for Synapse. And if you do, running a backfield with a Barb Strangler for forcing some pinning tests, or the Venom Cannon just because it's Strength 6 AP 4, that can kill off some Pathfinders for Tau, or kill some Fire Warriors that are manning a quad gun, but they're going to get their cover save. So it's a wash anyway. But they're 10 points. Okay. Monstrous Biomorphs. Now these are the ones, obviously, that go on monsters. Twin Link Death Spitters. They're really trying to make us take these. They're 5 points for the pair of Twin Linked Death Spitters. And, you know, they're Strength 5, AP 5. No. Because for 15 points, you get our favorite Twin Link Devourers with Brain Leech Worms, which are exactly the same. They're still Strength 6, AP nothing, Assault 6, Twin Linked. But they no longer give you the enemy -1 to their leadership if they have to take a leadership save. So they lost that, but other than that, they're exactly the same. So the Flyer still has a good weapon. Then you have the Stranglethorn Cannon, which is the big Barb Strangler for 15 points. It's still 36-inch range, Strength 6, AP 5, Assault 1, Large Blast, Pinning. And then for 20 points, you can get the Heavy Venom Cannon, which is the same as the regular Venom Cannon, except it's Strength 9. So now, the big thing with the Venom Cannons, they no longer get the -1 to the vehicle damage table against non-open top vehicles. They're just Strength 9 AP 4. So they're just D6 on the roll. So that is nice. But is it worth 20 points? It really depends on what you're running. I guess if you were still running a walking Tyrant, maybe. But I don't know. It needs playtesting, but we'll have to see. It's at least more viable than it was, and on the Harpy it's better. Okay. Melee bioweapons. Now these are Rending Claws, Bone Swords, and Lash Whips and Bone Sword. Rending Claws are 5 points, and they are Strength User Rending with AP 5. So, not bad. Again, nothing fancy to write home about. Now, something to note. We no longer have the rule in here that lets us fight with the benefits of both of our melee weapon sets. So I don't know if you still can. I'm pretty sure you have to pick. So you can't strike with Rending Claws and Bone Swords if I'm correct. Now that kind of sucks because I'll go over Bone Swords right now. Bone Swords are AP 3 now instead of Ignore Armor, which I saw coming because they nerfed all the power weapons. You know, all the power swords and everything are all AP 3. But it's AP 3, Strength User, and it has Life Drain, I think is what it's called. Yeah, Life Drain. And what Life Drain is on a 6 to wound, it's instant death. No leadership, it's just instant death. But it would have been really cool if you could use Rending Claws and Lash Whips, and on a 6 to wound, you ignore armor, and that's instant death. paladins. Maybe you can. Maybe you'll get FAQ'd. But as of my understanding right now, you can't. So, okay. Rending Claws, like I said, are 5 points. Just Bone Swords, 15. You no longer get a bonus for having a pair of Bone Swords. It doesn't do anything else. And for 20 points, you get a Lash Whip and Bone Swords. Now, Lash Whips have changed this one. Instead of lowering the enemy's initiative, it increases the wielder of the Lash Whip's initiative by 3. So, a little worse because it only affects the bearer, and it doesn't, like, help the rest of the people in that combat. But that's what it does. 20 points gets you an instant death weapon on 6s to wound and +3 initiative. So you're going first on the majority of things that can take them. Okay, regular Biomorphs. Regular Biomorphs include Toxin Sacs, Acid Blood, Adrenal Glands, and Regeneration. Toxin Sacs are 10 points. They give you poison. Yep, that's it. Still like normal. But 10 points to give poison to a Carnifex, so he's re-rolling his 2s to wound. But on the on things like the Tervigon, if you're going to take, or not Tervigon, the Trigon, if you're going to take a Trigon, you may as well give him Toxin Sacs. Get him the re-rolls to wound, because he gets a lot more attacks. But still, 10 points, that's not bad. Acid Blood has changed. Acid Blood is now AP2 on the hits back. For each unsaved wound a model with Acid Blood suffers in close combat, the enemy that inflicted the wound must immediately take an initiative test at the end of the current initiative step. So if a Space Marine causes a wound to one of the guys with Acid Blood, they immediately have to make an initiative test. If they fail it, they suffer a Strength 5 AP2 hit with Ignore Cover. The Ignore Cover is weird because you don't get cover saves in melee anyway, but you know, no idea why that part's in there. But anyway, so there's Acid Blood, 15 points. There's a note in here that the Harspec can't take it, but he already has it. So that's why he can't buy it. I don't know why I guess they thought people were dumb and were just going to take it, or try to pay 15 points to take it again. Even though they wouldn't do anything. But anyway, Adrenal Glands, 15 points. Now not only give Furious Charge, they also give Fleet. So handing out Fleet to Carnifexes is a thing now. That's pretty cool. Regeneration, 30 points. Instead of rolling on every wound like you used to and needing, what, I think a 6, now you roll at the end of each of your friendly turns, and on a 4+, you regain a wound if you're not at full. So it got better, but at the same time it got worse, because you used to roll on every wound, right? I don't know. I didn't take Regeneration last edition. It didn't seem worth it. I could see taking this on Tervigons, because if you're going to take them, you need them to stay alive. And they don't have Iron Arm anymore. Surprise, surprise. We'll get to that right after the War Gear, but there's a spoiler. You don't have Biomancy anymore. Sorry. But there's Regeneration. Okay, we got 2 more sections. Thorax Biomorphs. They are Electroshock Grubs, Desiccator Larva, and Shredder Shard Beetles. They're all 10 points, and they're all pretty bad. Yeah, I don't see me taking these. The Desiccator Larva, template, Assault 1, with Fleshbane, Strength 1. They're all template weapons. But that one's got Fleshbane, AP nothing. It's 10 points. If you got 10 points on the guys that can take them, sure. The Shredder Shard Beetles are Strength 3, Assault 1, Rending with Shred, so you get to reroll a wound. And the Electroshock Grubs are Strength 5, AB 5 with Haywire. Now, this one I can see sometimes, and I'll tell you why when we get to my idea here in another section, but largely they're not that good, and I'll go through why here in a minute. Okay, the last section are Bio Artifacts, and Bio Artifacts are our relics, right? So let me find the thing here. Okay, so the first one we have is the Maw Claws of Fearix. Okay, now these are apparently, what are they, Rending Claws? Yeah, they're claws. They're fang-lined pincers. They're Strength User, AP 5, Melee Rending with Assimilate. And what Assimilate does is if it kills an enemy, then the model equipped with the Maw Claws gains preferred enemy against the Codex that the thing you killed was in. So if you killed a Space Marine, you get preferred enemy Space Marines. They're, I don't know, they're 10 points, and if you put them on a monster, like if you put them on a Hive Tyrant, I guess, they could be useful because it'd be AP2, but, you know, you can already give I'll get to that later, but you can already give your Hive Tyrant rerolls to ones in melee anyway. So I don't see you taking the Maw Claws of Etherics. Just saying. And because on a Tyranid Prime, I'll just take a Bone Sword and Lash Whips. Anyway, the next one is the Miasma Cannon, 25 points. It's a fancy Venom Cannon. 36-inch range, Strength 1, AP 4, Assault 1, Blast, Poison 2+. Okay, or it can also be fired as a template at Strength 1, AP 4, Assault 1, Poison 2+. So I wouldn't take it on a Hive Tyrant because I'm thinking well, unless you're doing a walking Hive Tyrant. It is 25 points, so it's only 5 points more than a heavy Venom Cannon. And it is better because it has the template fire. And against Toughness 8, I guess, if you're shooting, for some reason, shooting it at Wraith Knights or Wraith Lords, I guess it's better. But it's only 5 points more. But I could also see it on a Tervagon because they can take it, so you can actually give the Tervagon a gun. So, but it's only one per army. By the way, all these are one per army. Okay, these are where they get stupid. 40 points buys you the Norn Crown or the Ymgarl Factor. They're both 40 points. Okay, hang on just a second. Okay, sorry about that phone call. You know, so where were we? Oh yeah, worthless crap. Okay, 40 points buys you the Norn Crown, which is it increases the synapse range of the bear by 6 inches for 40 points. Okay, seriously? What? I don't even know what they were thinking with this thing. 40 points for +6 synapse range. No, just no. The other 40-point upgrade is the Ymgarl Factor. Another spoiler, our Ymgarl Gene Stealers are gone. So, and I loved those things. They were so good. They made me fondly look upon Gene Stealers in an edition that I couldn't. But they're gone now. But the Ymgarl Factor basically gives their special ability from the old book to whoever you take. So a Hive Tyrant or Tervagon or Tyranid Prime. But it's 40 points. And it's still only during the assault phase. You pick either +1 strength, +1 attack, or +1 of the armor save. But it only works during the assault phase. And you still can't pick the same thing twice. So no, just saying, okay, well I have a 2+ armor save in combat. You know, you can't do that anymore. Or you couldn't do it before, but you can't do that. So that sucks. Mainly because Armored Shell is gone. You no longer can give a 2-up armor save to a walking Hive Tyrant. That was a stupid removal, but whatever. So you're not going to take Ymgarl Factor. I can't imagine it's worth 40 points. So, you know, there it is. Okay, now the one that's even worse. The 5th and last Bio-Artifact. 45 points. The Reaper of Oblerax. Or Obliterax. It's a stupid name. But anyway, it's a Bone Sword and Lash Whip combo. It's Strength +1, AP 3, melee with Life Drain, so instant death on 6, Swift Strike, so +3 leadership, and Shred. So it gives you +1 strength and lets you reroll wounds. For 25 points more than a Bone Sword and Lash Whip would cost you normally. I think the math ended up being that it's better on a Tyranid Prime if the Tyranid Prime is fighting something of strength or of toughness like 6 or better. I think I'd have to look at it, but I believe the math, that's the only time it would be worth it. And I don't think it's worth 25 points more than just a Lash Whip Bone Sword. I think if you're going to run a Tyranid Prime, you're going to run a Lash Whip Bone Sword anyway because it's good. Unless you're wanting to park them in the backfield. But that's a big if. That's if you're going to run a Trigon Prime, or Tyranid Prime. I keep saying Trigon Prime, I apologize. If you're going to run a Tyranid Prime, regardless. But stay away from the Reaper. 45 points, I don't think it's worth 25 points more than a regular. You're paying 25 points for +1 strength and Shred. And if that's worth it to you, great. If not, stay away from this. The only Bio-Artifact I really like is the Miasma Cannon, and it's pretty much only on Tervagons. Just so that Tervagons can have a gun. I could also maybe see it on a Shooty Trigun, or I keep saying that. Sorry, on a Shooty Tyranid Prime. But yeah, so that is the special rules, the psychic powers, and the war gear. I'm going to cut this video here because it's already about 30 minutes, and I hope you've enjoyed it. In the next video, we're going to be doing a look over. We're going to start delving into the unit entries, and hopefully we can get HQs and maybe troops. So yeah, I'll see you in part 2.